Uh-huh. See, on the way of walking home, I only listen to Bahamian Index.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? You get it? The walking?
No.
Remember last time we were talking about Bahamian culture and all that sort of
I got
thing? And I
that.
say, we don't have the car, so we have to walk.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm walking, although I have to listen hard because I can't use no headphones, because that's not Bahamian. So I just listen to Bahamian stuff. So anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with, what's the name over there? Smith.
Okay.
And Kendrick Williams.
He's
And
so
Candy's here.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?
Little 85%, you know.
That's how you feeling?
Cloudy.
Yeah.
With chances
It
of...
was a good, well, the weekend we did a community service project, but then it rained. And I loved that. You know, I like that action. I like that rain action. Rain straight through.
Rain is always good.
Yeah.
I mean, for the grass and the trees.
Yeah.
And the flowers.
That's the best time to go out and, like, if you need to go to, like, shopping or you need to go pay bills and stuff, do it when it's raining. Because most people don't want to
Because
go.
no
motherfuckers
one's
ain't
going to
on the
be
road.
there.
They don't want to be going
They're
through
not-
that. They'll be, I'll wait for another
Right.
day. So that's when
Lines
the
short.
lines
Well,
are very
Bahamians,
short.
as you know,
Short.
Bahamians actually believe they'll melt. So, you're full of the
Why are
rain.
we so afraid of the rain, though, for real?
Because we think we're going to melt.
You know, I actually think,
The
you
girls
know,
don't mess up their
it must
hair, I
transfer, it must translate to, we must be nasty because that means we don't like to shower.
No, that's
No, but why is the rain different from the shower?
When you
That's
shower,
a
you're
decision.
naked.
You make a choice. You were going to go and get wet.
Yeah, but
It's like
if you,
going to the
let's say you're
beach.
at a game.
But I don't feel like
And
going to
you
get
had
wet.
You know, in the States, the game, they put an umbrella together. We had to put a little patch of, that stadium empty back around here. They ain't full of a tank.
Listen,
Especially if it's heavy. Nobody
I think they must be from us. You think they're from us? I'm melting. Melting.
That's why I said you think we're going to melt.
The girls don't like their hair to get all messed up.
The
And
girls
stuff.
I
sugar?
don't want to be wet. I don't want to get wet. I just got splashed coming here.
No, splash
Yeah.
is different. That's mucky water.
I know, but I
But
hate
from,
it.
you know, God's
The clouds.
rain.
And then you gotta, tote your umbrella. And then the umbrella you go into wherever you go into, and then it's wet and it's dripping.
I see.
Too
You
much
can
rain.
watch this, Ken.
I mean, I don't mind.
You can
I'm
go
just
down
saying
a road, right?
It's
Let's say it's a road, have a sidewalk in the Bahamas. If it starts to rain, your cocks walking, your niggas are running.
yes.
Your cocks.
Your cocks walking.
Your cocks walking. Cocks.
No. Yeah, no, but that's
I don't
how
know
you
what you're
are.
saying.
No, you know what I'm saying.
I don't know what you're saying.
And you're filthy. That's the problem.
No, you're filthy because I wasn't even going there. I'm saying your cocks walking.
CAUCS. Short
C-A-
Caucasians.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Okay.
See, no, you're nasty because I just like your cocks
filthy.
walking.
Yeah, I
Now,
know.
And she keeps saying it.
No, she likes to say it.
Stop. You're,
Say it again.
I am the
Say it again,
cleanest
Rogie.
person, purest person in this room.
I can
So
tell you
what
one
I'm
thing. Let
talking
me say
about.
this to you. You can
Lies.
say that to the general public, but if they put your hip on a lie detector, it'll blow up. You never had seen a lie detector and the light blow up. That'll just say stop. Okay? So everyone running, man. You know, just trying to get cover.
Yeah.
You know?
If it's coming down heavy, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
if it's torrential. No one wants to be in torrential
Why?
rain.
So what's the difference?
It's overwhelming.
What's
Okay?
the difference?
Yeah, it's
is
just-
just water.
but we running on spray.
and we
Spry
call
with word
it
on
And we
spry.
call it spray. Look that up, Ken.
I said that when I was away in school.
Hello.
The girl said, "Is it
Are you
raining out
looking
there?"
it
I
up?
said, "Just spraying a
I'm
little
looking
bit." She's like,
Yeah.
"It's
I don't
what?
have much
What?"
juice, though.
With that, did we really invent that word?
It's spraying.
And
Let me
I
see.
mean,
You can't.
Yeah.
It's not in there.
or
Yeah,
no,
it says
it's just
sprying.
sprying.
Sprying. Hold on.
Sprying a little bit.
Hold on.
It's
Sprying.
sprying
Yeah,
a little
no,
bit.
hold on.
That candy and singlet. When I went away,
Singlet.
I was up in Macy's. I said, "Y'all sell singlet?" Someone said, "What?" And my Bahamian friend who was living away said, "No, they call them wife beaters. You have to say wife beater." Like,
Wife beaters,
Wife
that's even
beaters,
worse.
that's
No
worse.
singlet. Put on
you
your
got
singlet.
So
can we say jockey?
spry.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can say jockey. You know,
Well,
you-
spry means nimble.
but
you
that's
know.
not
Maybe
that's
no,
not
that's
our
not really.
definition.
That's not our thing.
We're talking about a little.
The old
drizzle.
dog was spry.
No.
Okay.
No,
Mm-mm.
We don't mean it like that.
We need a
no.
Bahamian dictionary.
He was not a spry. That's all they
No.
got.
That's
Yeah.
so
We just
we
talk
should
about it
have-
like
Let's see
a light
sprying.
rain.
Let's see
Just like a
sprying.
we should
drizzle.
have that like because I've been watching the weather.
But you know how we
a
get
lot.
those words, eh? Right now, you can track that word to something else. You see what I'm saying? But that's just how. Oh Lord, look at this.
Oh.
Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
Yes, the
And
Urban
it says
Dictionary is
and
going
it
to have
says
it.
Bahamian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Urban Dictionary will have it.
Yeah, the
It
Urban
says-
Dictionary would
it
have
says
it.
It looks like it might rain. It was spraying earlier.
That's listen.
Urban
That's what
Dictionary
we
will
should
have
have on our weather, like the weather app. When you add Nassau, Bahamas.
Spray it.
Or excuse me.
Hey, chances
Hey
of
Joey,
spray.
watch this. Hey Joey,
This man
want
like
to
talk
spray?
now.
I know.
You know what that
like
means?
nobody.
You don't let nobody else speak.
Nobody.
Now. I mean, this gal was in the
no,
middle of making a sweet point.
I'm sorry. I was just wanting to show you this thing about
Spry.
want to spray.
Yes.
You know what want to spray means?
No.
Go on,
Slang,
just
slang
listen
for
in.
participating in marijuana.
That doesn't even make sense. I don't comprehend that.
Yeah.
Because pride to me means
Rain.
rain.
Yeah.
Little,
But where do you think it
a
came
little
from?
rain.
Because I'm sure it didn't start. It's like scorch.
I think
Scotch.
it's off of some word. Just like how we always say like ratchet is like from wretched. I feel like it comes
Ratchet.
from
But
something.
no,
Who says
isn't
ratchet?
ratchet? That's from the U.S., eh?
You know how
US?
people say ratchet?
Ratchet
Oh,
is a
she's
tool.
ratchet, but it ain't ratchet. It's
I've never
it's
heard anyone
wretched.
say
It's
ratchet.
Yeah,
Mm.
wretched.
I don't hear people say ratchet.
Oh, because that's not in your
What?
set.
Oh, that's a new thing. Well, I mean, I'm happy that's not my set. My set is the intelligent set.
Yeah,
But
from
anyway,
around here.
so
Your set is the boring set. Ain't no but ratchet.
score.
That is-
Yeah, let me tell you something. You folks
know
at
what
the
ratchet
other age group or whatever that is you're talking about, y'all don't even know what you're saying. First of all,
course
you
we
don't know
do.
what you're saying because every 3 weeks the words change.
That's not
Scorch.
true. Scotch.
That comes from scoured.
Scored.
Scored, yeah.
Yeah.
When you
Scored.
Like, yeah. But we go on with scorch.
No.
We had a C, we had a
I want one.
ACH in that.
Scotch. Scotch is like, you
I
want
know.
what?
Spry.
Macallan? No, not Scotch.
And scotch it off the board.
Yeah.
Scotching on the
Scotch,
board.
yeah, scotch it off the board.
Scotch.
Scotching on the board.
But you know,
He scotched my book up.
Yes.
and you know the old-fashioned Scotch.
Mommy.
And then between, you have different vendors who do the real Scotch, the old-fashioned, with the horn and the, you know what I mean?
What?
No.
Kendrick, you know what I mean? Yeah. The
I was
conch.
never big on scotch.
I love scotch.
Scotch is my
Yeah.
favorite.
No, I like conch
Because they ain't
salad.
I don't
all-
even
ain't
get
got all
conch
them
salad.
tomatoes
And
and all that stuff.
please don't give
You
me
want
no
a
tropical.
You want into the tropical, eh?
Ugh.
You like the mango in them?
Mango does not belong in a conch salad.
I could take a mango.
Um,
I don't like all them
does,
tomatoes in a conch salad though.
What is that you're drinking?
And pineapple does not belong
Does
on
it belong
pizza.
in tea?
Huh?
You have
What's
things
that?
that don't belong in tea.
No, tea. This is only tea. Tea bag, hot
Yeah.
water.
And what
Bang.
kind of tea is that?
Bang-a-lang-a-lang.
No sugar?
Green tea. No
Yeah.
sugar, no cream.
Yeah. Anyway, it's always a pleasure. What else is going on this weekend? Did you do anything this weekend, Rogan Smith?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mother's Day.
Yeah. So, what did I do? I went out a lot.
Yeah. Where did you
Where
go?
you been?
You took
I've
your
been
mother
down
out?
to. No, she wanted stuff. She wanted us to just do stuff at her place, just like just buy food and grill and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
So we just grilled and all that, and then yesterday went to Drifters.
Yeah. Where's
We
that?
had by the Fry.
Arawak.
Okay.
It was really good. So we had some good food, and I love Sky Juice the way they do it. So
Yeah.
that was good. And I went riding yesterday. Went all the way out like Adelaide and them. It was a nice little drive.
Like horse
Like,
riding?
yeah, no, driving.
Oh,
in my
driving.
car. Yeah.
We used to
You
do
call
that
it
growing
riding?
up. Driving, yeah,
Riding,
driving.
You
yeah.
said, okay, riding. You're going for a ride?
Going for a ride.
Going
You
for
either ride a bicycle or a horse. You don't ride a car.
You could ride in a car.
You can ride other
You
things.
could ride in a car.
Huh?
You could ride in
What
a
is
car.
going on?
Yeah, you can ride in a car.
Yeah.
Because again, you're slack.
It
So
was
anyway,
good. Y'all remember the old pink wall, where like out Adelaide,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
long
Yes,
pink
the
wall. I
long
missed that
pink
boy.
wall.
Yeah.
Was
That's
that
where
Albany
Albany
now?
is now,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, at Albany now. But I used to like driving that way when I was younger.
Because we were like, every time we passed that, boy, who owns that?
Big,
All this big
I
piece
know,
of
that's
property.
plenty money.
I went to. I wasn't feeling well on Friday, so I had to defer the Mother's Day shopping to Saturday, which I hate doing because I don't like leaving, going east of a certain point on Saturdays. I just don't, right? Too much traffic and all that stuff. So I went to the store and the woman said, I was wondering where you is.
Do you go to the same store?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to do a plug. And I get to do a plug because, well, I shouldn't do the plug. I'm going to ask you about this because I don't want no one else know about this store. You see? I go to the store and there's
Where
no one
is
else
it?
there.
Where? Just say the
No,
area.
no. I'll
Just
tell
say
you
the
off the air.
area.
No, I'm not. I'm
Mouth it
sorry.
to me.
Okay? Don't say the store.
That's not. I can't even. I don't know. Olivia, Right?
Right?
Candy.
Why are you grabbing me like
Exactly. Just okay.
Oh.
Don't tell anyone. Anyway, so I don't want anyone to know the store because I'll tell you the name of the store after we get off the air.
Oh, Lord.
I don't want anyone to know the store because I can get everything there. There's never a crowd. I can always find parking. The people are wonderful. So, when I go there, I buy cards, and I buy cards in bulk. Right? So, like, let's say you go there. You know the store. You know.
Yeah.
So I go there because
go there.
I buy
No,
there
I
in
ain't
bulk because I don't like to go. I can figure I could have these cards for 2-3 years. Okay? I mean, one time I messed up. I had to cross out anniversary and put birthday. Okay, big deal. No problem. The thing is, okay, so I was asking when you was, this the man here. That's what she said.
So they didn't have a conversation about you.
Yeah, before I reach.
This the man here.
This the man here.
You buy plenty stuff up in there.
No, I always go there to get my cards, you see. So, and then I had to get a gift. There's a lot of pressure for men.
Think so?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What, for Mother's Day or just
for everything.
in general?
In general. The penis carries a tough load.
Tough or no load?
No, sorry. Okay, hold on. You see? Slackness again. Okay? A heavy burden.
No, but you stop saying these things.
But your slackness interprets it a different way.
Your impure mind.
Kendrick, help me out, man.
And she's talking about she's the purest.
Hold on. She said, or no load.
Kendrick, you see what's happening, right? It's deteriorating. What I'm saying is the male carry a heavy burden. What's that? Yeah. It carries a heavy. It carries a. Well, as long as there's like a
Why do you
nuance.
say that though? Like, give me say.
Listen, I know we talk about this, but listen, here's the deal.
I mean, in terms
It's
of
basic,
these kinds of
just in
holidays
general.
and things.
In general, I
Oh.
mean, I'm not saying that women don't have burdens as well.
No.
They do, obviously, right? But like I say, when it comes to life is about procreation. That's all it is. It's about meeting a person, procreating, whether you're an ant or a human being. Okay, it's a mating thing. Okay, but the thing is with the women's they really get to choose. They in the choosing business.
But what's so tough? I still
What
waiting
do
to
you
hear you
mean?
say what's so tough about this. Because women tell you
Brothers,
straight up what they want.
See, if you look at the in the animal kingdom, for instance, right?
God.
Like the certain bird will have to have a plume, and they just do the plume. You know what I mean? They got the plume, and they hope the female of the species say, "Oh yeah, I like that plume. I going over by him." By peacock and them. Okay. Okay, but yeah, you dog. Okay, so
What was that for?
so the guys here, that's what they have to do. They gotta,
And then they gotta dance.
they gotta show you, man.
Women do the
And
same
fluff.
thing when
Yeah,
you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they do the same thing. But you know what?
To men.
Let me
it's-
tell you something.
Women
It's
gotta-
even more
women-
difficult
it's more
for
difficult
women,
for
though.
women.
I mean, I
let
didn't
me tell you
ask you that
something.
to compare,
No,
but
I'm
I
just
just
saying
wanted
that.
to
Let me
know
tell
your
you this.
side of what you.
In the pluming of women, at the end of the day, no matter how much a man plume, the woman is yay or nay. Okay, take you.
Not always.
No,
Okay.
Not
I don't
always.
agree with
I
that
can say that.
100%.
But they ain't say no. Brothers say get tired of down.
Plenty of men has turned women down. What you talking about?
Yeah, but that's because they turned that one down.
They turn women down.
All right. Kevin, you know what I say.
Right,
It's,
and
all,
it's
it's,
the
our,
same thing,
it's, a-
but it's the same
it's
thing.
our load to carry. Don't worry about it.
No.
We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here. Our guest going to be this afternoon is going to be Vernice Walkane from NAD. Tells us about what's going on. Also, too, you have to remember, Vern
Was in tourism.
was the Director General of Tourism, so I'd like to ask her view on what's happening with tourism and tourism product, et cetera, et cetera. Will be good to hear.
Yeah.
Water. Delicious. So anyway, I told you the place off air.
Yeah.
But and you anyway, you know what? Y'all continue not to go there.
Yeah, so you go.
What are you
You got
doing?
that to
Yeah,
yourself.
but do not
Yeah.
do not tell that to anyone.
No,
Oh,
I
good.
I get
You see, that's what you get for being mean.
Me?
Candy, he doesn't discriminate. Okay, you see, and you didn't even do
what
anything
did I
mean
do?
to him.
I
Now
just
you get to
poured
see.
some hot tea on my lap, and you say it's because I
Weren't you
being
mean?
mean.
Y'all was getting ready to downplay my place
Was I being mean?
by downplaying my place.
But I wasn't even talking.
Exactly.
You were getting ready to say, yeah, but.
No.
Okay. Well, never mind that.
Take
I take
it back.
I take it back. Say, I take
Okay.
it back before you ask me to take it back.
Oh.
So you did the Mother's Day. You did Mother's Day as well.
Yeah, man. I don't do well with those kind of days, but it turned out really nice.
Yeah.
My kids, they went above and beyond for me. Made me breakfast.
Yeah. We
Was
don't
it
get
good?
that.
It was really good.
What was it?
So I had a spread. I had chocolate chip waffles.
They made that?
Yes.
Mm.
So
Some
Makosa
turkey
isn't on that.
bacon, some
No, you
eggs.
have some older kids too,
I
though.
do have older kids.
Oh, yeah, that's
some
right.
eggs.
That's true.
Bacon, turkey bacon, and fruits.
Well, that's a good breakfast.
And it was really nice.
Especially
since you
really
have to
do it,
hot
yeah.
mess breakfast.
They had the candles lit and stuff like
Oh,
that, and they bought
candles. Romantic.
they bought me these shoes.
I was going to tell you, Tori.
Yes. So it was it was
nice.
very, very unexpected, but I really enjoyed it.
That's really nice.
And then I went back to bed.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I got my mom.
With-
Medea Boo too.
from the person on the side. It's
No
really-
man.
Oh,
When I was away, I went to Target. I took her to. I
like
took
a
her to,
real DVD?
Yeah. I love the
Young
DVDs.
people still watch them?
What? Girl, my house full of DVDs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that's good.
an Oscar statuette that I bought when I was in California. It said "Best Mother"
Oh, that's sweet.
and a card.
Yeah, I took my mom out to dinner the
Just
night
not the
before.
same level of excitement for the big FD, is it?
It's, Daddy just
Yes,
gets
no,
more
no,
stuff sometimes.
yeah, it depends.
It
depends.
depends?
Did you not
Yeah,
just hear
like
me
who?
say I got my
it
mom
depends
a
on who you.
DVD? That ain't that
Hold on.
poppin'.
It
Well,
dep-
yeah, but you have a whole lineup of things. It's
Hey,
like all
Ed,
day
it
plan.
depends on who your crew is. If you ain't get a crew,
Yeah.
if you ain't get a crew,
Well,
you know.
you definitely have a crew. You have a whole like a cruise ship crew.
Ain't a lot of daddies
The
around.
Brady Bunch
That's
crew?
the problem. Ain't a
That's
lot
true.
of fathers
That's
around,
true.
so they don't
Yeah.
get as much love as the mummies.
Yeah.
Mummies gotta be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most part. No,
Now,
that's good.
moving away from that, I saw something on TV. It's happened like about 2 or 3 times. I don't know the specifics, but you know something that really bothers me lately. There's Vern. Vern, would you have a seat in the other room?
Right-
It's our green room,
right
but it's not
right
green.
here.
Yeah. It's not. It's people who get convicted, wrongly convicted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That is a lot of stuff going on with that recently. Can you imagine this?
Recently in the States.
I mean, just in the States. I mean, I imagine it
it
must be happening here. I can imagine it must be happening here. People who and for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So listen to this case now. This guy in Missouri was convicted of murdering a woman, by the fact that a paid informant said, yeah, he saw him. No one else saw him. Nothing. So later on, like he's been in jail for 20 years. 4 years after the conviction, a guy confessed to the crime.
4 years after the conviction.
After someone confessed to the crime,
Yeah.
then he ended up dying. But he was on tape. I heard the tape confession.
Uh-huh.
And the other guy who pointed him out said, yeah,
The
he
informant.
only said that because he was paid by the thing.
And so this man was released.
He's still in jail. Now, I think maybe today you could look on in Missouri Attorney General. If you look that up, Missouri Attorney General, they made an announcement today. I don't even know if he got out today. They were going to make an announcement. Even the victim's daughter said they know he didn't do it.
So
and they
4
take
years
this long
after
to
the
let him out.
confession, Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well.
It's crazy.
You gotta sue.
And it's like you can sue, and then it's like, but that's 20 years of your life. You know what I mean?
How long? Sorry, because I was out.
He was in jail for 20. I think he got picked up and he was like, I want to say 17. Anyway, he was young.
That's crazy. You know, I can't remember the name of the case of the young girl who was caught up in the whole trafficking deal. She was being sold.
In
It's
Louisiana.
Brad Jennings you're talking about?
Who,
Is that
me?
his name? I'm talking about
Oh.
Edward.
Yeah, Missouri. You looked up.
Convicted of wife's murder?
Yeah, no.
Not that one?
Missouri Attorney General. I'm
Well,
going to
this-
look it up.
Anyway,
If
while
you
you're
name
looking
it.
that up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry.
And she ended up, I think, killing the
Oh.
person who was selling her for sex or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And she ended up going to
He
jail,
recognized
and
release.
she's serving a sentence for murdering this guy who she was trying to get out of this ring of I have to. I'll look
Okay.
it up. That's crazy.
So
Like these
they
people who are
announced-
just wrong. They're just
Yeah.
wrongfully in jail.
So they announced according to this that he's to be released after nearly 20 years in jail.
You. What is he going to do after
Get
20
a hamburger?
years?
What is this man's name?
I think it's let me tell you right now.
No
Because I'm seeing
amount. No
old
amount
stuff
of
from-
money
So this
or
is 46 minutes ago.
compensation is going to make this man's life right.
Yeah, his name is David Robinson. Yeah, since for the killing of shot to death. Leaving a bar. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I don't know how you survive. I don't know how you don't. Boy, I tell you, it's a unique thing. You know, to be able to withstand that. And he seemed fairly calm. I mean, I guess what happens is you just
at a
become
certain
reserved
point,
at some point. You're just
exactly.
like, this is it. And he had life without parole.
That's nuts.
So I guess this is like a relief. You know, like, okay, I'm not going to be
20
for life.
This is
years.
and this is
How
why.
old is he? Sorry.
I
know?
didn't get the age.
You know, I'm a fan of, or I should say, not just a fan, but a supporter of capital punishment. I am. But this is precisely why a lot of people
Death
who are
row.
against
Right.
capital punishment
Yeah.
are so against it, because you don't have the luxury of making even one mistake. You know what I mean? And so if someone's in jail,
And there's so
wrongly
many
convicted,
loopholes.
But
And
that's
there's
why
so
I don't
many
understand why they don't use the
ways
lie
that you
detector
can-
test and sodium pentothal, because even with the lie detector test, what they always say is that it doesn't hold up in court because people can
They can
what's the
beat
word?
it. They
They
can
can
beat
beat
it.
it. Yeah, but they can beat it in favor of lying, not beat it in favor of not lying. You never hear about people who were lying, right? Who were not lying.
I don't understand
I'm
anything you just
confused.
said.
Okay.
So if you could
So
beat
they
it in
always say
favor
people.
of,
Yeah. So they always say that people who kill, let's say, I kill Candy, and they put me on a lie detector test. That if I'm cold-hearted, I can beat it, and I can say no, I didn't lie, I didn't kill her, and I beat it. But it's never where, I did it,
Right.
or I said yes, I did it. That's a lie. You know what I'm saying? It's always. You understand what I'm saying,
I
right?
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
The beating is the liars. People who telling the truth are telling the truth.
Right.
Okay, so that means that you might let some
but you don't
guilty
need to go. But
people-
if you're telling the truth, you don't need to go to a lie detector.
well,
You just
but
say,
they might put you-
I did it.
Yeah, but they don't. But then that's why you go on the lie detector, because they might believe you. They might believe you. So the point is,
There's just so much room for error with that.
the room for
People
error
are
though
getting
is
nervous.
letting people who guilty off, not
Yeah.
people who innocent. Okay, and the other thing is they can give you the drug. They,
keep
let me
going
tell you,
to this
man.
drug, and
I'm
I
telling
keep,
you.
every time you bring this up, I keep meaning to go and do the
What is
research.
that?
Do the
What does the
research.
drug do? Like
Sodium
it-
pentothal.
and
That's what
it's
it
It's
is.
like a truth
my
telling
thing is
serum,
gone.
like-
My thing is
like-
gone.
No,
My thing is
my
gone.
phone is dying.
They have
But I'm
they have
gonna-
anesthesia. If you listen, let me tell you something.
what, you just
If
start talking
if
and-
you go under anesthesia, no,
Sorry,
they'll
sir.
ask you a question. If you go under anesthesia and they ask you a question, you will tell the truth because you don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
Okay, once you relax, once you,
Because that's when your
I don't know about
subconscious
that.
kicks
and on
in,
top
right?
of that, they can
can't-
also
you could
use.
say foolishness
You
too
could
when you're
say
on
that,
But
yeah.
they
anesthesia.
could
You
also
can't
use Wonder
admit that.
Woman's lariat. So the question I'm saying is, okay.
That's not admissible.
No, but I'm just saying that I think that there's, and I'm just going to put this to you, Ms. Rogan Smith, who always seems to come up with some rational position. Wouldn't you rather use something that is more, because I can tell you what ain't sure, the jury.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
don't want to compare
The-
those two. Yes, because the jury pool is flawed,
Tainted.
right? So, but I don't want to say, well, it's this or that.
But I'd
I
rather
don't
use-
want two methods that could be flawed.
Okay, fine. But what I'm saying is, let me ask you a question, Ms. Rogan Smith, the arbiter of fairness. If you have a situation where a jury, you know what they say about eyewitnesses? That almost all the time eyewitness evidence is flawed. Almost every
I
time.
can believe that.
Okay? Because if I just say, oh, when I come back, I come up with a completely different description.
And sometimes people just tell you what they feel you want to
Right.
hear.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, so if eyewitness evidence is say 80% flawed, and
That's
sodium
you-
pentothal, I'm just making up a number,
You're just making it
and
up.
sodium pentothal is say 10% flawed. When it comes to life and death situations, What you want to go with, girl?
I ain't just gonna go with that.
I'm just saying what you want to go with,
I
girl.
need to do the
Well, my
research,
thing
and I'm
is,
not gonna go
this
based
guy's
on those
lawyer,
stats
though,
that
right?
you pulled out of thin
This
air.
guy-
But I'm giving you
attorney,
some
you
numbers,
think-
girl. What you want to go
Those
with?
numbers you pulled out the air.
Yeah,
That's
but
all.
I'm saying what you want to go with, 10 or 8,
I'm
girl.
not going with either until I
Candy,
know
what you wanna go
with?
But you think these
No one's
attorneys-
asked what they want to
No,
go with.
You
I don't
think
wanna
these
go with those.
attorneys? I mean, the attorney or whoever was assigned to this guy. I mean, sometimes like they don't.
They're whack.
push. Not right, and they don't push for certain things. They just want to, kind of hurry up and get this over with,
That's exactly
and
correct.
they're not really they're representing them, but
this
not
was not that kind of case. I don't think the
Really?
prosecutor just said
That's-
this guy. There's a lot of other circumstances going on. So what I'm saying, and I hope you go in with this girl. If you're in
Why is he shaking
Mississippi,
his neck like
Missouri, okay, that's a double now. Mississippi, Missouri. It's a town in Missouri named Mississippi.
Missouri.
Missouri.
You gotta say it like that.
Okay, and you happen to be Uncle Ben, okay, and you go before Bubba, 12 Bubbas, and they say Uncle Ben did it. Okay, and by the way, Uncle Ben, the girl he killed was a Caucasian. Okay, all right, you get all the things. Give me the Southern Pentothal. Did you see the movie Marshall? I asked you to see it. I thought I assigned you to see that movie.
With the boy.
No, Thurgood Marshall.
Oh no.
I thought I gave you both the assignment to watch that.
This is
Rogan Smith, did you not get the
first time
assignment to watch
hearing
it?
that.
Okay, so this was about. I thought it was going to be the story of Thurgood Marshall, the justice, but really what it was about a case that he did when he was with the NAACP, right?
Ah, yes, I think I watched that.
And
That's
the whole
with,
thing in a nutshell was this guy got accused of raping a white woman, who he actually had consensual relationships with.
Right.
When at the end of the trial, Thurgood Marshall asked the question to him, why didn't you just simply tell the truth? So the guy said this, where I'm from, in Mississippi, if I had said I'd had consensual relations with a white woman, I would have been lynched and tarred. We wouldn't be on trial.
Right.
And that's as a result of that, he got acquitted. Because that's the reality, The system is stacked against certain people. So, anyway.
Oh, I didn't realize Chadwick Boseman was Thurgood. He played Thurgood Marshall.
Perhaps I don't know who.
And James Brown.
I don't know who Chadwick is.
Oh my God.
Black Panther.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
T'Challa.
We'll be right back. I'm choosing. Listen. This is me now. I want you to do this. If I'm arrested for crimes,
which you will be.
crimes, I want to be on the truth serums.
Okay.
On the truth
we
serums.
don't administer that.
I am requesting
here,
that.
So.
Well, then
And
send me somewhere.
Rogan is against that.
No, she's not going to be involved.
I can let him incriminate himself. That's fine.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, for other things that they ain't even asking you about.
Exactly. Because
Yeah, I beat her to a pulp, Rogan Smith. I beat her to a pulp.
Yes.
But then they'll know I lied because she's still living.
No. You can beat me up and I'll be out.
That's right. I'm putting you on the truth serums too. I'm in charge of you like that. Now, let's talk about something that I saw on. I know you we're talking about this death thing. Is that what you?
Well,
were
no,
talking?
I wasn't talking about death. No, I was talking about. Like this weekend, I came to the realization. I am like now at that age where, I know he's looking at me
I'm listening
like,
intently.
come on, girl, you about 5 years old.
Exactly. I know that's how he's looking at you like you come to the
No,
age.
yes, I'm at the age where. Or I'm at the stage.
Yes.
I'm at the stage where you've become so busy with your lives and your job, your
the
working, your everyday world and stuff like that, where you just neglect all the other things that are around. Like I had a friend who had a baby a few weeks ago. I can't even say it's a few weeks ago. It's now it's probably a month old, and it's like you get so caught up that I have not even seen the baby yet.
But is that important?
Yeah, this is a very dear friend of mine.
Okay, but if you see it months from now, would it be a big problem?
No, but this is what I'm getting at. Like it's you come to the realization that you cannot always do these things like what you used to do. Like I used to be able to make time or have time, or you have your friends like, oh, I don't see you anymore, and I don't do this and we don't do that, and it's like, well, I'm really trying.
Because that phase is finished.
But that's why
But
I'm
why
saying.
should it be finished?
Because
No,
you
but
have
this
some
is-
rearing to do now.
No, but this is why I'm saying, like, that's.
Should you neglect your friendships?
It's not
It's not
neglecting.
neglect. It's
not
another phase.
neglect. It's just a.
But it's neglect.
You
No,
think it's
it's not
neglect?
neglect.
Yes, I do.
No.
I absolutely do.
Okay.
I listen. You've seen scenarios where people get married, and the minute they get married, all those friends that were there and supportive of them over the years, all of a sudden those friendships fall by the wayside. And it's like, okay, if I talk to you in a couple months, and that's cool.
No.
And they don't have to be high maintenance friendships, but
Right.
the friends miss the friendship, they miss the interaction, and because that person's gotten married. They leave that by the wayside. Then they have a child, and then the friendship becomes less important. And then their life goes on. The friendship becomes
Well,
less
see,
important.
I don't want to say that it's that it becomes less important. It is more like it has to evolve in a
now.
different.
Yeah.
It changes into something different. Like it can't. You know what I mean?
I have friends.
I
who,
don't think of them
I
any
know
less
no, and here, put this in.
important to
I
me.
have friends who, for instance, are in a different state, right? It would be impossible to see them, right? But I'm going to tell you, if it
Not
takes
impossible.
5 years or 3 years or whatever to see them, when we meet, there's nothing lost.
Right.
Yes.
And I
Okay?
do have
There's
friends
no
like that
diminished.
as well.
There's nothing diminished.
But
And that can happen here.
y'all are in a different state.
Yeah, but that
so
can happen here as well. So in other words,
I
I
have
have
fr- I
friends
have
here
friends that,
who I have
like,
not
that
seen in a
happens
long time
to me
because you know
here.
what? They're in their world. I'm in my world. Our worlds don't cross all the time. And when they do, it's like, ah!
I don't know.
Okay?
Life,
So it is what
life
it
gets
is.
busy. I understand that, but I think if someone matters to you, you will make time for them
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't have to be a high
Yeah.
maintenance
I think it's a
friendship
space
or
thing.
relationship,
Yeah.
but it should be one that is maintained.
Yeah. well, you can maintain, but doesn't mean
Yeah,
maintain
but
is at
it's-
the same level.
Maintenance
Right.
doesn't happen
No.
once every 2 years.
Well, it
That's
could
not
happen
ma-
once every couple
You
months.
can't even
hold on.
maintain your
Pump
vehicle
your
once
brakes.
every 2
Hey,
years.
pump your
and
brakes.
it's
I would
not
say-
efficiently.
I do
No, you
actually,
don't.
Yes, I do.
I did not say that I didn't speak to them in like 2 years. I just
The
said,
baby,
you
a
know,
whole month old.
And
you
by
know,
every
the way-
time you try
You
to
didn't
go
even
and
see the
say,
baby.
I'm going to go visit,
By the
something
way,
happens.
let me take the
and-
pressure off you.
Why? Okay.
I'm going to try to help you.
Okay, help me.
Call me Dr. Oz. Tell me out.
No,
What?
Dr.
Let me
Ed.
just say-
Suck your teeth at me and see what
I might
happens.
hear
Suck your teeth at me and see what
Dr.
happens.
Ed. Dr. Ed.
When the person have a baby,
Ed Fields.
they supposed to bring the baby right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
The
They're
baby
Who
supposed
does
to do a
that?
baby
No,
tour.
you can't-
Excuse
No,
me.
that's the
They're
baby.
supposed to do a baby tour.
No.
The baby
This is my
is
baby. They bring the
susceptible
pram.
to
How are they going to use the
disease
pram?
and
You can't
stuff.
How are they
You
going to
can't-
use
you
the
can't do
pram?
that.
They just run in their house.
You can't.
Nah, you know that's unheard of. You don't
They
go
bring it down
take
to
the
the-
baby.
they bring it right to the office.
Some of these dumb suggestions.
Yo,
You know,
around
people
all
do-
eight. And you know, we go with newborn babies.
Exactly.
We don't want plenty of people around our children, all the germs
Fucking
and
hell,
all
And then
Right.
you want
that.
people to bring their germs to you and bring them in your house? Listen to me.
better than going outside
Even-
and getting
listen.
them mold and
Listen to
covered
me.
and all
Listen to
that.
me.
mold.
Listen to me. You
Because
put
you know
them.
we have to have on socks and
You put
Tom
them.
and mittens.
That's
and,
why you always dress them up. Put them on the baby tour. That's it. I come in the house.
No, but
Come to my house. I like it.
you were saying something now. You're at the age of what?
I'm at the age of death. Listen to me. No, I'm going to tell you something. Just last night, right?
Dude,
No, I'm being very serious.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
care
yeah.
what anyone says.
This
Last
week.
night I thought to myself, you know what?
This is it.
It's any day, man.
Any day now.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Listen, just pay me in advance, yeah?
See, you have to understand something.
I know if you can
You
make
have
it.
to see, you
Need
have to
some
understand something.
post-dated
You know what's
checks
wrong with
before
you?
you go.
Kendrick, how are
I need
you?
some checks.
You're 50? You're 50, right? You're 50.
No, even 40.
All
Okay,
the
40
way-
something.
Edward,
You're
I
like,
can
you're
need you to
like
give me
30
some
something. You're
post-dated
30
checks.
something, right? Here's the deal with y'all. Oh, well, when I go, everything happened. Everything fall out. So don't worry. But they bring me no checks.
no.
It wouldn't be no check. The cash must
Post-dated.
be
Is that what
No,
you know?
let me say nothing. Let me say
Till
something.
2020.
I am at the stage now. Y'all are not at this stage. Y'all are not at the stage where
No, I told you what the stage
where
I'm at.
people your age are dropping.
Yes, I am at that stage.
Very few compared to what's happening on this
Man.
side. On
The
this side,
frequency is a little higher.
No.
it's freaking little. Lil? Hey?
Just a-
Like,
just a
Kendrick,
slight
this is, listen, you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm going to be dead and gone, but y'all going to remember this
Just
day.
give him a check.
Okay?
please.
Which y'all going to remember when y'all hit this one, the 6-0, you can say, boy, that's like, boy, you was on the fight. Okay?
I hope I
Because
don't
that's
get
what
there.
happens.
I ain't trying to die around
You
that
see
age.
people, just 62, 63, 64, 65. Yeah, little 67, 62, 61, 58. Oh, Lord. Man.
And what they dying from?
I don't know. They're dropping.
Non-communicable diseases.
Well, whatever
lot
it
of
is.
them.
Listen,
We ain't maintaining, so how you expect, again,
We
when
ain't-
you don't maintain, this
I
is
don't
what
like your tone.
this happens.
okay?
Unless
One
it's
of the
something
things
you
we
couldn't
did,
control.
I tell you one of the things we died from. Bad tone woman.
But
Okay?
What?
BTW.
What do you
Okay?
having these abbreviations.
Bad- what?
Bad tone woman.
Women.
Okay? Women with bad tone. I don't like your tone. Okay?
Watch your tone.
You won't be
There's
around for him.
there's a lot of BTW going on. Okay?
But yes, see there. So we are in different. What
everyone's in
stage are you
different phase,
in,
man.
Rogan?
I
We
get
in
very
different
like
stages.
one of the things I'm trying to.
What
I get
stage you
very nostalgic. Like things will happen. I'll see like the other day I was watching. You know these things where they advertise music, like the old CDs
Yes,
and stuff.
yes, on
and I was
TV.
listening to some like music of the
R&B
70s or
and-
80s
yeah,
or whatever, and I'm thinking, and all of the times that were associated with that music.
Just with
Just
flash
flashing
in your
behind me.
head.
No, I ignore you. I got no time for you. All the things flashing behind me. I remember
Did
when
you
I was
cry?
in this place. No, but then I got very.
Nostalgia,
Listen,
Jason.
laugh. I'm helping y'all out. I'm telling you what's going to
I
happen.
don't want you to.
See, most people
I'm not accepting any of this.
don't want to tell you what's going down. I try to help you out.
You're
trying to get you
too
ready.
pessimistic, so I
I don't know what this one over here grinning for.
Because he's happy and he's
Next-
He ain't happy.
optimistic.
He's funny.
He's
And
optimistic.
he don't get it.
He's optimistic.
Next week I'll talk about something. It's very controversial
Okay.
What is
about death.
Okay. Well, I
What,
don't want to know.
assisted death?
Yeah,
Ed
right.
down with that.
I wish that all.
No,
along.
I mean, okay, but
Yeah.
this is kind of different. But we'll talk about it.
All right.
We'll
All right. Well, we got to
definitely talk
run.
about
We
it.
have Vernice is coming on.
Yes.
Our good friend Vernice.
Okay, yow.
You know.
Oh, that means get up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the stage you at.
Like-
That's the
He
stage
no
you
problem,
at.
so that's how he's
Like,
That's the
get
stage you
up
at.
and
That's
get
the stage
out.
you at right
That's
now.
what I'm considering that
You see
baby.
how they think?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here, along with BTW Rogan Smith.
Bad tone woman.
Bad tone woman. She has a very bad attitude.
That's not true.
No, you don't. You just have a bad tone. But and our special guest this afternoon is my good friend.
A
Mrs.
GTW.
She's definitely
Good tone woman.
she's a WTW. A wonderfully toned woman.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, no problem. But you can, hey, but listen, watch it. If you go on my bad side, man, I can switch it. I can switch on one initial.
It could happen.
It can happen. You know, plenty of initials in the alphabet. So yeah, our good friend Vernice Walkane, who is also the CEO of the Nassau Airport
Development Company.
NAD. Never really could understand that because I don't know where the C went. You know,
You don't
They
need
just
the C.
just leave the C out.
Yeah, just leave
Okay,
it out.
that's it. Okay.
It's useless.
And of course, even more, I suppose more appropriately, most people know her as a former Director General of Tourism. And so we'll get down that track as well. But first of all, Vernice, thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
I'm a little shocked because, you know, anytime, you know, Vernice is very active in a lot of things and some things I'm involved with. You got a lot of stuff going on, man.
It's true. It's true.
That's one of the people I would get a call from on something, and it's very polite, very nice, very in advance. I just wish to apologize that I'm not going to be able to make that, But no. So how are things in that?
No, it is good. We're very busy.
Uh-huh.
I think you might have heard some of the reports about how busy we are at the airport. It's been an amazing few months. We have had, for January, February, March, and April, we've had successively, months of successive growth in passenger numbers. This January, our passenger numbers exceeded last January by 5%. February was just about 10%. March was actually over 19%.
Might as well say 20.
You might as well say
Yeah.
20. And April is just under 5%.
Okay.
So March actually was our best month ever.
So
What
what are you
numbers
attributing
are-
that to? Yeah.
Well, I attribute that to a couple of things. First of all, Easter straddled March and April.
Yeah.
So the last couple of days of March were really, really strong days. But more importantly, the entire month was strong. Each day we saw incremental growth compared to the same day of last year, because there was a very, very protracted, miserable winter in all of our key markets. But I think that was sort of a convergence of things, right? We had the long winter. We had a significant amount of money being spent in the marketplace. I think we've had unprecedented spending. Marketing spending by Bahama, by Atlantis, by the Nassau Paradise Island Promotion Board, Sandals. And the Ministry of Tourism is active on with digital marketing. So we've had an unprecedented level of spending. I know Bahama alone has indicated they're spending $25 million, which started last October. And I know that Atlantis will not say what they're spending, but it's probably close to that.
You spend a lot.
Yeah, you spend a lot, and it shows. And so we've had significant
and
a lot of activities going on. You know, with Atlantis rebranding some of its products, and of course the noise that Bahama is making in the marketplace that is attracting a lot of attention. So it's been very, very
and
good.
the confluence of the fact that down south they've had issues because of the hotels.
They did. They had. We had some business that was redirected because of what happened with some of the Southern Caribbean islands. So yes, some of that business absolutely was redirected toward us. And then, you know, the fact that we continue to be a destination that has great appeal. We're still the closest offshore destination for most Americans. And they're finding their way to us because we're reminding them every day of how easy it is to get to us, what we have to offer. And so I think that, and I have to say that what is also quietly contributing to this growth we're seeing is Airbnb and other similar alternate accommodations.
Yeah, because you would see, that's the other thing.
I would see it matters to me.
You would
as
see
an
that
airport.
to you because
Right.
you're just flowing through.
Exactly.
But let me ask you another question, because a lot of that obviously is still coming to the hotels, because the hotels, Atlanta certainly is seeing good performance this year, despite the fact that there's more rooms in the market. But you would probably be singularly more poised or be in a position to talk about this. What does that percentage uptick mean to the national conference? Because as you know, and I don't know the number, you can tell us, Vernice, I think it's something like 80% of our revenue from tourism comes from 1.5 million stopovers versus the other 20% coming from the cruise ship. And I don't know the exact breakdown, but it's a large.
In excess of 5 million a year now.
Right. So, but again, it's a very small percentage of the contribution to GDP, right?
That's right.
So what is that uptick in percentage-wise in stopover mean to the overall coffers from your past?
Well, from the tourism perspective, when you look at what the relative value is of a stopover visitor, which nowadays is somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000, based on their length of stay, what they will spend on accommodations and food and beverage and so on and so forth. So if the average stopover is worth about $2,000 to us, and you look at what that net increment is relative to last year at the same time, then you can do a quick and dirty calculation and see what it is.
That's a low.
That's a low number. But nowadays, given that average daily room rates are going up, it's been an amazing thing. But what I think was the most exciting thing about the numbers we saw in March is that was clear demonstration of the fact that Bahama and Atlantis could coexist. By attracting their respective target audiences without cannibalizing each other.
Right.
Because that was always the concern. That was the fear, right?
Yeah.
But March was proof positive that with Atlantis at, virtually 100% occupancy, Bahama likewise, that they were each able to pull their respective audiences without cannibalizing the other. So that was really an important marker for the destination, for the industry.
NAD suffered, a $14 million net loss. And I read the report saying that you weren't concerned by that at all because it was an accounting policy or something.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
What it is that's really a bookkeeping marker. Right? So what happened was, because there was a change in the accounting standards, the way we depreciate our assets over time has changed.
Okay.
And so that then represented a $14 million loss in terms of the value of those assets over time.
On
the books. So it's not an actual loss of cash to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's
it's a headline that's so
exactly. Because the minute you see that, what's going on over at NAD?
A couple of things. So, the journey, and I disclose, of course, that Bernice and I, at some point, were involved in the journey together with NAD. I recall, here's the deal. I recall the airport being a topic of discussion on a daily basis.
It was.
Okay? And not a good topic.
No.
Okay?
No.
Mainly
It was
the P.
embarrassing.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? As soon as you came on that
pretty
escalator, the P hit you.
Yeah.
Either the P or the Dettol. One of the two.
Or the bleach.
Or the combo. Okay? You had a combo sometimes. Okay? And I know that was one of the first things that we sought to correct with the bathrooms, etc. But the reality is you don't hear about the airport now.
Right.
Which
In a
is a good
positive-
thing.
you hear, but it's in a positive way.
But
Yeah.
it's not the daily.
Yeah.
Right.
Even right down to, I think there are a couple of things that they're still outstanding, but one of the last things that were accomplished silently, and this is our penchant for complaining but not celebrating, were the lines that you had to go through security.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that has even gone away.
That's correct.
But so first of all, tell the folks where NAD is, or LPIA, I should say, is compared to the rest of the region.
Well, we are absolutely one of the best airports in this entire hemisphere, and that includes North America. Because when you consider what we have to offer and the way we present who we are as a Bahamian people within the airport, I think it's really quite an amazing story, and people love the airport. And I don't just mean Bahamians, who are obviously very, very proud of it. But visitors tell us, because we participate in the Airports Council International Survey, which is a global survey of airports, and for the second consecutive year, we've placed in the top 3 in our entire region, and that's the entire America's region. So that tells us that we're doing some things right, that people enjoy the experience, they find it efficient, they can find what they want in the airport, things work. And so we continue to strive because we want to be number one. We believe that we can and will be number one, and that's our objective every day.
I remember there was some concern. I think it was YVRAS that was managing it at one point. And I remember when there was going to be a handover, and people were concerned that if they weren't involved, the quality of the airport would diminish.
Well, let me just explain that, because they're still managing it. So what has happened is, for example, when I joined NAD in 2010, I was the first Bahamian executive to join the YVRAS team, as they were called at the time. They're now called Vantage, Vantage Airport Group. Since that time, and that was just, 8 years, not even quite 8 years ago, because I joined November 1st, 2010, the entire executive team is Bahamian. There are 5 of us who are Bahamian, but we all work for Vantage.
Okay.
So our contract is with Vantage. So Vantage is the manager of NAD.
Okay.
So the contract is between NAD and Vantage for Vantage to manage the company.
Gotcha.
And so the 5 of us work for Vantage. And so, the suggestion that with the Canadians leaving and the Bahamians who would replace them not being able to maintain the standard, obviously that was a fallacy.
You have the resources
And we have
global,
I work for
entity.
Vantage, so I have access to all of the best practices from around the entire network. And the good news is that Vantage continues to expand and to grow as a company. They're redeveloping right now the LaGuardia Central Terminal.
Okay.
They also just won the bid to redevelop Terminals 5 and 6 at JFK for JetBlue. So they are growing as a company.
Boys.
Yeah, exponentially.
I think what's interesting is we had some folks come into town just recently from Denver. You know the people, Brad Siegel.
Oh, yes.
And those for the urban development business plan we were doing. And he hadn't been here since 2009. And this is why I say to you, I always say to folks out there in terms of celebrating the successes. Because, if you don't celebrate the successes, you're in this kind of like depression mode, and the depression overwhelms your capacity to do more stuff, right?
That's true. That is very true.
This guy comes in, and you know what he said? This is the words. You can ask Candy. The change in New Province has been phenomenal. We don't see it. We don't appreciate it, right? And the first thing that they see, I had another friend who was Case Lawal, who was from Houston, who hadn't been here since wow! Because listen, this is the first thing that hits you with.
That's correct.
As opposed to the P.
Right.
Okay? And it's the last thing
That's
that hits
correct.
you with,
That's right.
okay? So sometimes to the extent that you may even have a negative experience here, at least when you're leaving out, it's not reinforced with a negative,
Right.
okay? But there's been tremendous changes since 2009, and we
No
don't
question
seem
about
to realize it. We take that airport, I think, now for granted.
We do take it now for granted because when any little thing fails, it's a big deal because our expectations have changed. And
Right,
so I understand and accept
Right,
that.
right.
And so NAD is the operator at LPIA. We have to wear it and you have to do better.
Right.
You have to continue to, improve because the expectations of the Bahamian public now is that this is a world-class airport operated according to world-class standards, and this is not to world-class standards today.
Now,
So
tell me, go
Sorry,
ahead, go ahead.
there were plans, or at least there was supposed to be a request for proposal for this hotel, 1,500 rooms, I believe, at the airport. Where is that still something on the drawing board, or what's happening with that?
So what we did was we issued an expression of interest so that we could invite interested parties to raise their hands and say, I'd like to be considered to develop that hotel. So NAD is providing the real estate, and we're looking for interested parties to develop a small hotel because we have sufficient information to believe that an airport hotel could be quite viable. Not a large hotel, but to your point, about 100 rooms, give or take. And so we would expect any interested proponent to do their own research to confirm what is the optimum number of rooms. What do you need in order to be profitable? At what price point can you sell these rooms? Because you have to consider the mix of the guests of such a hotel, people who are in transit, Bahamians coming in who missed their flight and, need to overnight or cancel flights, etc. So not a day goes by, Rogan, that we don't get somebody at that airport asking, why don't you guys have a hotel here? Whether it's flight crews or otherwise, right?
The flight crews, didn't even think of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where we are right now is that last Friday was the deadline for those interested parties to submit their bona fides. So what we will now do is we will review all those submissions, pull all of the qualified proponents out, and they will be invited to respond to an RFP, which we're developing right now. So our expectation is that by the last quarter in the calendar year, that we will have selected a successful proponent.
That'd be awesome.
So that, God willing, in the first
knock
quarter.
that building down. You'll knock
Yes,
that all.
then they will knock that building
Okay,
down.
good.
okay.
That's part
But
of
that
the
building got
part
to
of
go
it.
because that's
It
the
has to
only.
It's an eyesore.
That's
It has to go.
That whole area has to be repaved
it
and all
has
that
to
kind of
go.
thing.
It has
That'd
to
be
go.
awesome, then.
No, it's very exciting for us actually because whichever candidate is selected, it's important for us that their design is commensurate with the airport. It looks like it was always intended to be a part of the airport complex. So all of that is something that we will
really
consider. So we're very excited about that opportunity.
Now let's talk about airlift. One of the offshoots of YVRS, Vantage, NAD, managing the airport is that, of course, unlike in the past where the airport was the airport and, you work, it's government funded and government subsidized, this y'all in it for the dollars. You got to get some dollars.
We have to pay back that huge,
got to pay the bill.
huge loan.
It's for the folks that don't know, and I say this to all people.
$409.5 million.
And I say this with pride. I think that was one of the things that I was.
$409.5 million. That's a lot.
That's
of money.
a lot of money.
That's
and
a
it's
huge
the largest.
mortgage.
It's the largest public
private partnership project ever in this country.
It finished
Actually,
under
it's the
budget.
largest infrastructure project ever in this country.
It finished under budget,
And
ahead
on
of time.
That's right.
And without controversy. Which means, and again, so NAD is really, and you hear a lot of reference to NAD when people talk about the port and other things.
Right.
They talk about the sports,
best
the
practice
NAD model,
example,
right?
yeah.
Because this is what it demonstrates, Rogan. A, if you could do a $400 million project and not have cost overruns, not have controversy, finish the schedule, that means you can do that with anything. In addition, you can't say that a Bahamian team can't run that.
Yeah,
but of
that's
course,
true.
NAD had a very good succession plan. They stuck with it. The question now is what's the next steps? Because, where do you go from here? Are you going to try to look at how you can expand to the outer islands? I know you can, but is that something that you as a company are desirous of doing? Managing other airports?
Well, I think we have certainly a lot of talented people in the company. I have to say, whenever I'm given an opportunity to say so, I think I have the best team anywhere, because you're talking about young people who are technically savvy, who are motivated, who are excited and enthusiastic about the aviation business.
I said about 2 or 3 out there, though. You can't,
Yes,
don't
I
take
know.
the full credit now.
Yes, I know. Well, you have to be smart enough to know how to poach, right? And so I think that the opportunity for any of the NAD team members to transition some of those talents to other family island airports would be tremendous.
But see, that's another little, and I'm going to talk to you about Airlift in a sec, but that's another little interesting spin-off. And you see, this is how these shows evolve, right? So, Atlantis was kind of the first, I wouldn't say the first, but let's just say it was an example of best practices, right? As a result of the thousands of people that were employed there, those people have tentacled out into organizations like NAD, right?
That is true.
And then now your organization is tentacling people out.
That's true.
And that's how the thing,
That's if you're running a business that is successful, it's because you have good people,
and so
somebody's going to recognize that those are good people, and that's the way it is. And you want to be churning so that you can bring in
new people. New ideas.
Yeah,
and
I have no problem with that.
Stayed,
I think attrition is very important to a
right.
company.
It used to be where people didn't like turnover because they thought they were losing valuable assets, etc. The reality is people want to grow, man, and you can't hold them back,
No, you shouldn't.
But let's go to Airlift, because this is another little interesting thing. Is that before it was the Ministry of Tourism and PIPB generally who looked at how to get more airlines in here, right? Now, because NAD is a for-profit organization, and its bread and butter is those landing fees and exit fees or whatever kind of fees, the more vessels in here, the more that you benefit. So you go through this Roots thing. Tell us about Roots and how that's operated.
So Roots it's Roots as in ROUTES. So it's Roots.
Not the Junkanoo Group?
No, not the Junkanoo Group, and not the tree trunk Roots.
No.
It's so they have the Roots Americas Forum and they have Roots World. So we participate in Roots together with the Ministry of Tourism and the Promotion Board, because one of the first things I did when I left tourism, I came to NAD, is I created this strategic airlift group, which is comprised of NAD, Ministry of Tourism, and the Promotion Board. So together we approach the airlines all together, and that's one of the things that here in the Bahamas we've done very successfully that a lot of our competitors have not been able to do, is to pull together the public and the private sector so that you have one voice going to talk to the airlines. So, for example, we can bundle a package that is very attractive to the airlines. They want to know, how are you going to support this service with marketing dollars and whatnot. And so as an airport, I can offer them some incentives. So, for example, what we typically would do for a new service, particularly a new gateway that's we've not had before, it's important for us to develop that, and so we would offer a waiver of all of the aeronautical fees, so the landing fees, terminal fees.
Introductory thing.
It's a great inducement, because when you add that up, particularly if it's daily service, that's significant.
But that's on the introductory though.
We would do that for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we would do that for the first 2 years of the service, because our view is that if it's a new market, you have to allow it that much time to prove, that it is sustainable.
But the other participants don't get all ticked off? The ones who have been here more than 2 years?
No, well, again, it's new service.
Okay, so they get it.
They get it. I mean, they might have benefited from it when they first came. You see? And so it's a way for us to attract new and to open up new gateways. And so the Ministry of Tourism would offer marketing support, the Promotion Board would offer marketing support, and so together we bundle that, and it's an amazing package. And the airlines tell us that they love dealing with the Bahamas because we have our act together.
Yeah.
See, folks, that's what you call incentivizing. It's not giving anyone a check. It's a concession that you do I gotta say it. I know it sounds like
No, you're right.
but
You're
people
right.
don't
People
get
don't
it.
get
They
it.
think
They don't get
that
it.
you're
You're
writing a
true.
check.
Yeah, no, we don't.
And you know, it's not government, although the structure is a quasi-government type scenario. But that's how you get people to create jobs.
That's true.
Okay? If you didn't have them, you wouldn't have that tax anyway, or you wouldn't have that fee
That's
base.
correct.
When we come back, I want to talk about hubbing. What's the future? You know, where do you get more flights coming in from the
Sure.
south? All
Okay.
that kind of stuff. We'll be back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here, along with Rogan Smith and Bernice Walkane, who's the CEO of NAD, and of course former director extraordinaire of Ministry of Tourism. Now, airlift, the lifeblood of the airport, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
of this country. In fact, I'll tell you a joke. One time when I first joined Atlantis, some visitor said to me, "Where do you park all the cars?" You know, they said they see all these people, right? They go, "Where are the parking lots?" Okay, they don't realize no one drives here. Okay, because that's they see all these thousands of people in a hotel. If this were Vegas, there has to be parking lots, man. People are driving to the. I said, no one drives here. They have to fly. Okay, they literally, when you look at a place like Orlando, 78% of people who go to Disney World in Orlando drive.
That's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
0% drive it
Yeah.
here. So tell us, first of all, how successful you are and what do you have planned in terms of airlift from our number one market, which is the U.S.?
Well, clearly we've been meeting consistently with all of our airline partners to talk about incremental lift, particularly as the Bahama rooms started to open and phased in their availability. And as the demand has picked up, the airlines have all told us that they will be adding additional frequencies, larger aircraft. So the upgauging, additional frequency is really very important to us. What that means for us, though, is that apart from, for example, with upgauging, it has implications for us again for higher fees because the larger the aircraft, the higher the fees. But also, it's.
By the way, you need to don't get too airliney on us. Upgauging.
Just a larger aircraft.
They think that means you go from a 12 gauge to a 14 gauge shotgun. That's all they know about gauging.
No, it's a larger aircraft. But why upgauging large aircraft? Why that's important to us is because it doesn't add that much more pressure.
Right.
With respect to gates and whatnot,
right.
So we have to look at, in terms of those airlines that will add additional frequencies, what times of day are we talking about? Because you'll appreciate that for us, our peak hours for arrivals will be for departures too, for that matter, would be between 11 and 2. So, and there's a very simple reason for that. Most of our business comes from the eastern coast of the United States. All of those flights can get in here by, early departures from the U.S. and get in here between 10 and 11 o'clock.
Gotcha.
And they turn around and they go right back out because they are able, if you stay with me, all of those U.S. airlines, whether it's American, Delta, United, less JetBlue, but the traditional carriers, they tend to do shuttle service.
Yeah.
And so they fly from New York to Boston or Boston to New York and then New York to Nassau. And then back again to New York and then on to Boston for the evening shuttle.
Yeah,
so
circuit,
that's how it started for us. And it works because they're able to bring in those connecting passengers seamlessly, easily, and then still get to Nassau so people can have, all afternoon on the beach. And it's just very appealing because of our proximity. So that always works to our advantage. But what it does is it creates a different kind of problem for us in terms of
traffic.
The pressure on the facilities all at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I was always under the impression that because of our previous customs immigration regiment where there was overtime paid to customs immigration. That's why they climbered in the middle there. That was a fallacy then.
Yeah, that's a fallacy.
Okay.
Because then they can all come at 3, 4, 5 o'clock and they still be okay with customs. No, that's not the issue. It's really about the routing and the proximity and the ability to get the flight in, turn it around, get back.
I suppose you would see some of that more so if you saw more long hauls, like if we started getting flights from L.A. or something, they may come in the evening.
They would come in later.
Yeah. What is, I mean, I by the way, saw a presentation on it, but the prognosis on those West Coast flights is still slim because the demand is still not there that much, right?
No, I think there's adequate demand, but what is happening is that all of the major carriers international have such good, easy connecting service.
Yes.
Whether it's JetBlue into Fort Lauderdale, Delta into Atlanta, American into Miami, that in order for them to put on a dedicated flight from LA or San Francisco, it's going to undermine. And don't forget, all these airlines have built significant hubs in these airports, in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I mean, you look at what they're spending. So, there's that reluctance, I think, until the demand is so overwhelming that they find that they have to do it. We're not quite there yet.
But just out of interest, doesn't a direct flight create more demand?
It can.
Okay.
It can. But it's really a function of, whether or not the airline has that available aircraft that they want to dedicate to that nonstop.
Right.
Whereas,
of course, nothing is overnight. It takes months to develop these things.
That's correct.
What are the chances of the Bahamas? Now, well, first of all, give me what your capacity is. So you got the crunch time in the middle,
We've built for 5 million people a year.
Okay, and what are we
right
up to?
Right now we're up to 3.3.
Okay.
So we have room to grow.
And you also have expansion
and
room to add on.
And we have built our terminal so that we can blow out walls and expand as we need to.
Okay.
So one of the things we're doing, Ed, is we had a master plan that was developed back in 2011.
Yes.
Well, we're now in 2018. A lot has changed since then. Bahamas opened and all of that. So we are updating that master plan. And one of the things we believe will be important in that consideration is a future parallel runway. Okay. I don't want to put a date on it, but what that will mean is right now we have intersecting runways. We believe that we will be headed in the direction where we will have parallel runways. So we can have simultaneous takeoffs and landings, right?
We got big time, Rogan Smith.
Yeah, no, seriously. We're a world-class airport. And we have to keep up.
Yeah, she did that.
And then pass some people, too.
Denise walk in. You don't know, but Rogan Smith and I have a special relationship with you, but you don't know about it. I can tell you that about it. I'm telling you can't get us to tell you.
Pique her interest.
No, too bad. You can't tell her. No, anyway, so the thing is, let's talk about hubbing in terms of the potential from the south. Now, an interesting thing occurred that people don't realize. In sometime in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, we had a FIFA conference and we had Miss Universe.
Yes.
And as a result of that, Mr. Vincent Vanderpool and others who was then the director went above and beyond to try to settle a lot of visa issues so that many countries could come into the Bahamas because the thought was they had to come to the United States. Right. So the United States, if the FBI cleared them, we didn't have to worry about the CID. Okay? Hey, no. You got to know you're cleared by the CIA, but the CID say no go. So, okay? So that worked out very favorably for us. But what was a byproduct of that was like Copa Airlines. Yes. Because all of a sudden Copa now could come direct here, and except for 3 countries, none of them needed visas. Yeah. So what are you doing now to exploit that byproduct? Is that growing?
Yes, it is actually. And what we're finding though is that I think you'll appreciate that the various countries in South America, because South America is not this sort of homogeneous thing.
Right.
No. I mean, all of their economies are different.
No.
All of their economies are different.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom fell out in Venezuela. Yeah. Argentina's had some political and social issues. Yeah. Brazil's economy is only now recovering again, and so on. So we're seeing the numbers pick up as these economies start to do better. One of the challenges for us as a country is the degree to which we are able to spend the kind of money we need to in all of those South American countries to break through. It's not easy to do. It's so huge.
Yeah. Like you say, the cultural, just in terms of when you do a marketing campaign, you might put one marketing campaign in one location, and that has a completely different meaning in another.
Yeah.
Precisely. So you have
You
to
might be saying, don't come.
You talk about tone. You talk about tone. You have to adjust your tone according to the economy you're in South America. They're all uniquely different, and it's a challenge. So we have tended to focus more on Brazil, Colombia, and Panama because they're easier. The Copa flight, for example, pulls mostly from Colombia and Brazil, and to some extent Panama as well, because it's a nonstop from Panama. But
Panama's their hub.
Yes,
correct?
It's their hub, and so it's been growing, and we're very pleased about that, and we expect that it will continue to improve. But it's been tough because we've not been able to sort of build that groundswell of noise in the markets.
What about Bahamians going there? It doesn't dawn on me, and I've got to start thinking this way now, because I'm always thinking where to go. Yeah. But we can go now to South America or Latin America by going through Panama.
Right.
But
Bahamians do.
A lot, but it isn't.
Not a lot.
It isn't really
not a lot,
marketed that way.
Bahamians do.
Yeah.
Less about vacation and more about business.
Yeah.
But Bahamians do.
I mean, theoretically, one of the things I hated about going south was have to go to Florida and then come back and then fly over here to come back.
Right.
Whereas now you can get on a flight to Panama, go to Dominican Republic, go to Colombia.
Well, shall I just share something with
you? Yes, you can share. Are you going to announce something?
Other than business, you know why Bahamians...
It's shrinking now. I'm not excited anymore.
You know why Bahamians go to several of those South American countries?
No, don't tell me why.
We know on another level.
Why?
But anyway,
if it's coming from me,
to get some body work done.
Yeah, we know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know that. At least I know that.
I didn't know that. I know about bodies, but not the body work.
Body work.
That too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Action, that
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to go down there.
It's cheaper.
Get a little lipo.
Yeah.
They got lipo down there?
Yeah.
Okay. You know anyone
now,
who
I'm
did
not
it?
talking from personal experience. You can look at me. That's not personal experience, but I know a couple of people, right, who've done it. But seriously, South America continues to be an important source area for us.
Yeah.
Asia continues to be important, and of course the Ministry of Foreign Affairs recently announced that the Indian market, for example, now no longer need to apply for a visa. That was a big problem, particularly because we don't have an embassy or a commission or any of that in India. So what they can do, once they have possession of a U.S., Canadian, UK visa, they can travel to the Bahamas and get their visa upon arrival.
And it can be direct.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be through the U.S.
So that's a huge opportunity for us as well to attract that segment.
It's amazing how we can go for years and years and years thinking one way. And then you wonder, well, why didn't we think of that
ages ago?
I
know. I think it's because as a people, we tend to be a little bit cautious about some of these things.
Right.
We don't like to break out and away from what we've always done.
That is true.
I could give you countless examples of things where, with the Centers for Disease Control and, the cautions that we've put in place because of X, Y, Z. And, it's like nobody even has those diseases anymore.
And by
the
way, it's coming back to the Bahamas. That's the problem. It's not going out.
It's so that's up. I think that tends to be a problem for us.
I want to ask you, Vernice, and this is from a director general's perspective, and I assume it will help anyone who wants. It's a destination issue. Mm-hmm. I'm under the opinion that we've spent a lot of money in a lot of years promoting the Bahamas, but that we've not spent nearly enough building up our product. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's one thing to say come, and then when they come and say, okay, and they go.
Yeah.
It's another thing to develop products, so when you come, you want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
What's your view on that as a former Director General?
I think, again, it's because we tend to be very, very cautious. We tend to not want to upset the traditional providers of whether it's transportation or excursions
Yes.
or and so for people to be able to break through with new innovative exciting products.
Right.
It's a
But
challenge.
from a government-
It's a challenge because one group or another is going to
Yes.
object on the grounds that it's going to undermine their business, or if I'm a taxi driver, I'm not going to be
drivers,
able to
right.
benefit from it, so
They
it
don't-
can't
they don't
happen.
realize more volume.
No,
they
they
don't know the
don't.
shopping mall
No, they
concept.
don't.
Yeah.
No.
A shopping mall, I always tell people, when you build a shopping mall, you don't put one store in it.
Exactly.
People come to the mall.
Exactly.
The reality is, the government of the Bahamas has a huge inventory of potential assets,
Right.
like the forts, Clifford Park, the beaches, etc., which are not being developed at what I would call world-class
Yeah.
attraction
That's
standard.
correct.
And also, let's be frank, we were talking about the other day, the cultural inventory is lacking.
It's not there.
And that's why people travel.
Yeah.
Yep.
People want
want to get to know about your country
Okay.
and your culture.
So I say, look, I don't know what the number is. Let's say the Ministry of Tourism is spending $50 million a year on promotion. Scale that back to 40, 35, and spend $15 million on product development over many years. So
Yeah,
that,
but Ed, the ministry doesn't need to do that. There are private sector interests that
And
would do it.
would-
I know
exactly,
this
exactly.
because
I know. I'm
I've
agreeing
been
with
there,
you.
and
Yeah.
So
But it-
what
so
what
let's
the
cede it to
government needs to do is to open
Let
up
go.
these open up these opportunities.
Right.
Stop being afraid that people
Right.
are gonna, violate the sanctity of the fort. I mean, the whole purpose of
I can
that
tell you what
of a
violating
private-
sanctity of the fort.
By the
Pee.
urination that's
That's
happening
my
out
point.
there.
So the whole
It's a pee theme again.
Yeah.
So the whole point of somebody being interested in developing a fort as an attraction is because it's a fort.
And you get a
So
construction.
how are they going to violate the sanctity of the history of the?
Precisely.
Well-
So we are afraid. We
We're
are our
afraid.
own worst
Yeah.
enemy,
And
in
then
my opinion,
politics
Ed,
and all that.
because we're afraid.
Yeah. But I'll leave you with a story before you go, because I'm always in the marketing mode. I try to salvage stuff. Rogan has heard this before. So when my friends would come to the fort and they'd smell the pee, I would say, hey, no, don't panic. I said, the reason this isn't clean up, this is pirate pee. We can't touch this. This is historical pee. You see what I'm saying? Once I told them that, everything was good. You see what I'm saying?
They
See, it's a
fell for
spin.
that. They hit you right.
It's a spin. We can. I would love to clean it, but those historical people, they'll be on us. That's black bad pee. Anyway, Rogan, you never heard that one before.
No, I never
Okay,
heard
now you know.
that.
I can work with you, man. Listen, it has been a pleasure,
Yes,
Bernice.
it
I always.
has.
What did I tell you before when we came in the show? I said we don't. It just flows.
It does.
It flows.
It does.
And
Well, that's good. Thank
you're a treasure trove of information. So there you go. Well, listen, I
say
hope
thank you?
we'll have you back.
Yes, anytime.
Because I know
Thank you
that,
very
especially, and I'm sure it's going to happen when future plans happen.
Yes.
Feel free to
Yeah.
call
I
on us.
think 2018 and 2019, 2020. I think the next
It'll be
couple of years are going to
exciting
be
years.
very
Yeah,
exciting
yeah.
for not just the airport.
Yeah.
But
By the
certainly
way,
for
got to
the
say this
country.
because it's one of our sponsors. The only drive-through restaurant in the world in airports,
Hey,
Wendy's.
Wendy's.
That's what our
That's
sponsor is.
right.
You ain't got no
That's right.
drive-through nowhere else. Okay.
This is true.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Ken.
you so
Thank
much.
you,
It's a pleasure.
Rogan, and thank
Thank
you,
you.
Bernice.